Hello, everyone watching at home. You're with Adelaide Eternal. We're bringing you our monthly tournament. This time it's Vintage from May, and you're here in the booth with Sarven, McLinton, and Beckett, Wolfe.
G'day, guys. Vintage, get around it.
Absolutely. I'm one to speak because I'm actually in this match. We usually try and avoid having ourselves in these feature matches, but this was just one of those things where it just lined up.
Well, Sarv, if you keep winning, mate, then you're going to keep getting on the feature matches, aren't you?
Well, speaking
keep
of
winning, he do.
I will not spoil this one. Let's not spoil this one. Let's have a look at the deck list.
Well, he was doing well in this match. He was doing well in the previous match.
So on the left we have Socrates, Stavropoulos, mainstay of the vintage environment around here, and he's on the Dark Petition Storm deck that is basically a Storm shell. So all the things you'd expect to see: Dark Petition, Duress, and Mind's Desire, Tendrils obviously for the win, and Thought Seizers, all these kind of things you'd expect to see, rituals and the like to power them out. However, it's also running 3 additional win cons, and that's 3 Monastery Mentors.
Did you say 3 Tinkers?
Yeah, 3 better than Tinkers. So it's nice. It's nice to have a card that basically is really good in the format. It's just better than Tinker.
Look,
doesn't
yeah,
get thorned, and
it's a
great.
3-mana win con that doesn't synergize with artifacts. It just synergizes with spells.
Yeah, and I guess you can say you could play spells in Vintage. That's a thing we do.
Oh, there's a couple of them.
Yeah. So the way that Soc's deck works is that primarily he is a Storm deck and he wants to Tendrils you for the win. But in addition, he has the ability to go the opposite way around, play a Mentor, and play his Storm spells afterwards and not need the win con. So Monastery Mentor is, in effect, a Tendrils of Agony that you play first. And you can invest in the Tendrils of Agony over the course of a number of turns, or you can do them all in one turn and win the following turn. It's quite a nice dimension that this deck now has, because what do you do against it? Do you bring in your removal spells? Do you bring in your balance? Do you, at the end of the day, you can only really operate off hating on Storm, hating on spells, and that's generally hard to do if you're not shops.
Geez, I mean, you can even run Artifact Destruction, because with Paradoxical Outcome being printed, now it's got a 3rd dimension where it's Storm that runs a huge amount of rocks, and the rocks are really important to the deck. So, as you say, there's a lot of new dimension. Storm's in a really, really interesting place right now. Vintage in an interesting place as well.
Absolutely. So we'll flick over to my deck. So my deck is the reverse of Soc's. So mine is, I'm running Esper Mentor. I've been running this for quite a while, just slight tweaks here and there, and obviously with the recent restrictions, there have been some slight tweaks. But at the end of the day, Soc's deck is focused on storming out as his primary win con, whereas mine is, as Esper Mentor, it's Mentor is the primary win con, but you have the possibility of storming. And it has happened on the occasional game for me where you have no ability to win the game normally. They have a moat out and they've countered your 1 Jason Mind Sculptor, for example, and you don't actually have a win con. So you just build up a few Moxen in hand, and then you play them, Hercules recall yourself, and then play them again and Tendrils of Agony your opponent. So for those who are interested in following the restrictions, obviously, the changes going around for Mentor decks have been huge. Everyone's brewing something different, and for the most part, you'll see the pros like Andy Pravasco and Stephen Menendian, they're running in place of the 2 Gushers that have been lost, because usually the decks run 3, they're running a Merchant Scroll and a Mystical Tutor. So these help you find those Gushers when you need them. For me, I'm running black, so I have the option to strict upgrade those 2 cards. I get to, instead of Merchant Scroll, run Demonic Tutor, and instead of Mystical Tutor, run Vampiric Tutor. So, whilst typically Vampiric Tutor has lost a lot of favour recently because Mentor is consistent and powerful as a blue-white-red deck, when you are in a meta that's undecided like now, it's nice to have a whole bunch of silver bullets in your deck, like a Fragmentize, a Hercules Recall, and then your power cards, and having vampiric tutor that gets any one of them as you need. So that's essentially the concept of the deck. You'll see a number of my mainstays from previous matches. We always talk about our trap card. When your opponent activates your trap card and you mindbreak trap them, it's a very satisfying feeling. So I can't remember whether or not this happens in this match. I hope it does, because I'm trying to think back to what happened. But we can't gush on about mindbreak trap as much as we
can't gush on at all.
So let's go down to the match. Let's see how it plays out. And again, I'm reiterating, I don't remember exactly how this one plays out. I know the result, but I don't know what happened in it. So we're looking at our opening hands. On the right, I show you my hand: Strip Mine, Emerald, 3 lands, Mentor, and a Force. So I send this one back. It's actually...
Really?
Yeah. I'm a very aggressive mulligan.
You are. I'm a very conservative mulliganer. I personally would have kept that. Of course, you're the master of the Mentor. But,
thank you.
I'd be greedy about getting that.
But look at that hand, it's
Mentor.
so bad. It's so bad.
Who's on the play?
So it's a turn 2. I'm on the play, I think. It's a turn 2 Mentor off an Emerald. So consider that the Emerald is the thing you want to trigger the Mentor. So it's actually bad. So you're going to get your turn 2 Mentor pass the turn. It's really bad. But at the end of the day, that hand was 5 mana sources, a Mentor, and a Force with no blue cards. So I'm sending that back. I can't send that back fast enough.
Wow. Well, learning, aren't we? Always learning. We haven't even started, really.
Me gushing on about playing Mentor. I just hope that they restrict Mentor so I can play something different. I've just been on this for so long. It's incorrect to not play Mentor. It's so strong. Who would play a deck with 4 Tinker? I would. So here's a hand with a Balance, a Lotus, a Mentor, Preordain, and a Sensei's Divining Top. This is such a keep. Such a keep for me. So let's see who's on the play. Do we have the... We'll find out in a second.
Didn't really catch a good glimpse of Sock's hand.
I think Sock has a Library of Alexandria hand, and he's on the play, and he's considering passing to me.
Wow.
And not playing the land, because he knows that I have Strip Mine, obviously.
So Library obviously lets you draw a card if you have exactly 7 cards in hand. So if you play the Library, then you won't be able to activate it straight away.
Alright, I guess I'm on the play. Alright, yep, so here we go. This is exactly what we want to do. We play our Lotus, we play our land, search for a blue source, and that Lotus will definitely be investing straight into a Monastery Mentor, and then you get to either Preordain or Sensei's Divining Top afterwards to trigger the Mentor. And if they have Mindbreak Trap, at least they're just countering your Preordain. You don't
have the Mentor here though, right?
Yes, I do.
Oh.
Yeah, there we go.
That's pretty yum.
That's why I'm mulligan, right? Because in this format, the powerful turn 1s, you can mull to 5 and have a still powerful turn 1.
I think I played you in this tournament and you mulled to 5 and did exactly that. You did turn 1.
Did.
You did turn 1 Lotus on the play.
You did a library.
In our game 3.
That's right.
And you crushed me.
So I'm preordaining. I do like to mull. That's why I do. The odds of drawing power when you mull is great. So I preordained and I found another preordain and a Jace of Bryn's Prodigy, I believe it was. So I put the Preordain in hand. I think that the Jace is on top. So he duresses me. He gets to take my Sensei's Divining Top. Well, he wants to take the Preordain, but I think he knows the game's going to go long, so he'll take top.
Well, the top just keeps going with the Mentor, doesn't it?
It's true. But for me, I'm very, very happy to lose the top because Preordain's actually far more aggressive for me. And he's doing both. So he's Lotus Petal Duress, Lotus Petal Duress. Yeah, that's aggressive. That's right. So I remember now in the after this discussion, Tendrils of Agony. Yeah, I don't want to see that.
I guess
it's a bad draw.
I guess his logic with the Lotus Petal is actually decent because if you do get to fire off balance, his hand doesn't get hurt as much.
Well, I'm not going to fire off balance when I got Mentor out.
Exactly.
So I think he's just saying, well, your balance is no longer relevant in this game, so leave it in your hand. And so my hand is completely irrelevant. Balance, Tendrils. So I'm all in on this Mentor here. So he goes... What do I take? Balance or Tendrils? Probably take Tendrils because balance is...
I don't know.
But balance is playable.
Well, there's no Lotus though, so Tendrils isn't coming out for a while.
Take the balance because it's the only playable card. So there's Gush.
There's a Scrubland. Haven't seen a Scrubland in Vintage in a while. I don't think I've ever seen Scrubland in Vintage.
Well, you heard it here first. Socrates Stavropoulos on Scrubland powering out Mentors in Storm.
Yeah.
It's good. So I'm just going to get here with my Yoda Monk token. Soul Ring is fine. Thoughtseize is fine. My hand is horrible. Both of these cards are unplayable, right? He has to take Gush because
Look,
if I play a land, it's amazing.
It feels good when you look at that hand and you see they've got nothing.
But I've just got 3 power. I'm just going to keep attacking with 3 power. Preordain's a good card.
What's he going to do? He doesn't really run sweepers, does he?
No. So here's an interesting decision. I got Jace the Mind Sculptor goes to the bottom, and I've got Mock Sapphire, which goes to my hand. I want to just trigger here. So I've got 2 triggers now, getting to attack with Prowess, and then after this 2 more monks are going to be created. So that's an attack for 7.
Mm-hmm. An attack for 7, and then that's lethal.
And present lethal.
That's lethal, yeah.
Yeah, that's why, as much as I don't want to draw another mana source, drawing the Sapphire is okay here, just to present lethal. Because it's all in on whether or not your opponent can storm you out now. So he can do a mini tendrils. And if he mini tendrils as me, it buys him a little bit of time, but it's not good.
No, it's not.
Yeah, attack for 5.
So, done.
So, you know...
Thought Seizers would have been great if Sock was on the play, or if you just didn't have the Lotus.
Yeah, if the turn was the other way around, he could duress my Lotus.
A Mox instead of a Lotus.
Yep, the Lotus is good. The
Lotus is good.
Lotus is a good card, I hear.
Lotus is good.
The interesting situation there is the Mentor. If that Mentor was Tinker, just imagine how bad that would have been. Because I play Lotus and I can't play Tinker because I have no artifact to sacrifice to Tinker. But Lotus can power out Mentors with nothing else. Lotus plus Mentor together is just a 2-card combo, whereas Tinker plus Lotus needs a 3rd card. So the fact that Tinker is restricted and Lotus and Mentor isn't is relatively laughable.
Yeah. Although, Tinker's got that history behind it. And
Tinker pitches to force, not that you ever want to, but it does.
Tinker's a beautiful card, of course. So.
I do like Tinker in Storm decks because you get to get the Memory Jar. And Mentor can't get you Memory Jar. Also, Tinker getting the bot, getting Blightsteel Colossus. There's situations where Blightsteel Colossus can win the next turn and Mentor can't win the next turn. So Mentor still needs, say, at least one other spell to trigger it and to go off. But the consistency of having one other spell to trigger it and go off in Mentor decks it's pretty consistent.
Yeah, I've done my fair share of tinkering for a Time Vault as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Feels a bit weird, but if it wins, it wins. So.
There's times where you tinker for Black Lotus, and just storm. You just need to create as many spells as you can, and Tinker just generates you exactly the same mana as it used up with of Lotus. It's not good, but there's things that Mentor can't do.
As far as sideboarding here, are you sideboarding in for the Storm matchup because that's what you're more scared of, I assume?
So that's a really good question. We're going to find out because I know that I show my sideboarding to the camera. Because I know as a commentator, we love seeing people's sideboards, don't we? We love seeing what they brought in. I think I show you now. Here we go. So these are the cards that I have taken out. I take out Mana Crypt, 2 Swords to Plowshares, and an Island. And I bring in Tormod's Crypt, Stony Silence, Flusterstorm, Notion Thief. And the rationale here is that Mana Crypt is really good for explosive turns, but I take it out against other blue decks generally if we are possibly going to go long. So if I'm running, and the other reason is if I bring in more Stony Silences, I get to turn off rocks, and turning off my own Mana Crypt is a pretty bad feeling. So here I only bring in 1 Stony Silence, not 2, because there's games where the Storm deck can storm powerfully through you with rituals and no rocks, and the Stony Silence looks relatively silly.
It's hard to tell sometimes how, you don't know. Most of these lists run at least 1 paradoxical outcome. I'm not sure if Sock is. Just having a look now.
I can't actually see. I don't think he is. I think he's on a traditional Storm list.
Yeah, he's not. But I mean, if I was running, I'd probably run a paradoxical. But some of these run 4 of paradoxical. Some of them run 1 of, 2 of, 3 of. You just don't know. And how invested they are in the rocks. And
there's times where, Storm still gets shut down by Stony Silence if they have the particular draw that relies on a Lotus Petal, Moxen, and Grim Monolith, Mana Vault, those types of hands. So they still, Stone of Silence still affects them, but I just don't want 2 in because I'm also a Storm deck.
Yeah, Sock's got a very concise sideboard. 4 of Serenity, 4 of Ravenous Trap, 2 Cambale, Console of Allocation. You ever heard of that one, Sal?
Yeah, I've had that played against me. It's really good.
It's good. It's surprisingly good.
It's kind of like a Storm. It's like a Tendrils of Agony, but that triggers off your opponent casting the spells, not you.
So the
it's reverse Tendrils of Agony.
No, I don't mind it at all. Decent in the control matchup.
Yeah, if he resolves one against me, it's pretty rough.
and yeah, to be honest, it's obviously very, very good against the Storm matchup. 3 Containment Priests and Planes he's also got, and a Hercules. So, yeah, very consistent sideboard. Yep. Just designated slots for
shops and so on. He really hates the shops. Big, Serenity's there for that.
Archetypes and.
Look, a hand I don't mull. So. Tolarian Academy. I'm really keyed off the fact that I've got Mox Emerald and Sensei's Divining Top, because I'm keeping this because if I go Emerald into top and then play Tolarian Academy, that's 2 mana on turn 1, and I haven't actually spent anything else. This is why I like Academy. It's a non-bow in the decks when there were 4 gushes around, but now you've only got 1 gush. Academy's great when you're running 6, 7 rocks.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I want to run. I'm still pondering whether or not I want to run.
Oh, here we go.
Academy. Oh, that's a decent
hand Disruption, Library of Alexandria. So Library on a mull to 6 is rough.
It's rough. It can.
He gets a scry.
Do things.
So what do? Do you rush out the Library past the turn?
I think so. Because if you play the Library, you still.
When you're on a mull, it's rough though, because he needs to use a Duresses.
I guess so.
I think you just skip. You don't want to use the Library. So here, there's a Mentor in here. The Mentor's not coming down anytime soon. There's no white mana in this. There's no black or white mana, and I'm Esper Mentor. I've got my Singleton Volcanic Island in there for Dak Faden. For those at home, I love Dak Faden.
Do you think taking a Mox or the top here is good? Because that actually turns off the Tolarian Academy a bit.
Personally, I think the most vulnerable card in that hand is Mox Emerald, but usually because he knows he's going to go long, because he can't storm me really quickly, he should probably take the top.
Yeah, it's a good point.
Because it's a thing that I'll just keep filtering with.
From all to 6, yeah. I think the top's pretty decent to take.
Yeah. And that he wants to take an artifact because he wants to reduce my Tolarian Academy mana, because otherwise I can play Jace turn 2 with this hand. So, yeah, he takes top. I think this is perfectly sound. You wouldn't take it if it was a preordain, but you definitely take top because it's an artifact and it goes the long game. Balance, again, another card I'm not going to play. So my hand is actually pretty bad now that the top is gone. So
you still got things to do though. I mean, you've got preordain.
I've got to try and fix it with preordain because I need to find a white source of mana ASAP. So here's a difficult decision. What do you take?
The Tormod switches on the Tolarian, but I don't know if that's really where you want to be. You're keeping both on top.
I draw Tormods and I keep preordain because I know that next turn I want to preordain again, definitely. And here, if I play Tormod's Crypt, I'd love to use it to trigger Mentor, but I'm saying I don't want to lose. This is my concession to not losing. Yeah, it feels really bad to just You got to respect the fact that they could easily Yawgmoth's Will.
Oh, it's vintage, mate. I mean, I've been playing the Perfect Storm before and
here we go.
Surprised myself at how it can just get out of jams.
Turn 2 Jason Mind Sculptor. And again, Jason Mind Sculptor enabled by that Tormod Script. So I'm brainstorming here. I just remind Sock that I've got a Monastery Mentor in hand because he knows about it, but the rest of the stuff is going to go back on top, and so I'm not going to tell him what I have. I drew a Fragmentize amongst those 3 cards.
No white yet, but you get to get rid of some baddies like Balance and such.
That's it. My hand is fundamentally not very good against Storm because I don't have Force and I don't have a white source to be able to actually deploy a threat like Mentor.
But it's looking good. I mean, you've got mana, you've got a threat in the form of Jace, and you've got I can lose though with Jace easily, and so even after 1 Jace, technically it's like casting a very overcosted Brainstorm, and he could win the next turn, which is why I deployed that mana crypt, that Tormod's Crypt, because I know that there's a I turn off 1/3 of his wins, but that's all. Look, if you can do anything to affect Storm, it feels like the correct play,
Yeah. But here I play Mox Sapphire and Preordain. I'm still digging for white land. I bin 2 cards. I put back Fragmentize and Balance, and I bin both of them to the bottom from Preordain because I really don't want to draw them. I need to draw a white source desperately.
It's a good feel, so.
It is.
Preordaining after Jace Brainstorm. Getting rid of the junk, the trollop.
Now I have, however, made Monastery Mentor a lot more lackluster because all of my 0 mana artifacts are out already. So if I do get the white source and play Mentor, I'm going to have to really hinge on that Brainstorm Jace. So he gets to cast Ancestral Recall here and gas up by 3 more cards. So like I'm not out of the woods. My Jace is good, but here we go. You can see I've shaped my hand with the Brainstorm.
Is that a recall?
Yeah, I've got Hercule's Recall, and I have a White Source and Mentor. So this is my plan.
Coming together, yeah.
It's all coming together. Like I had to really.
Is Sock on Library now?
I believe he's on Library or one card off Library. But as you can see, I brainstormed into Yawgmoth's Will and Demonic Tutor, and I remember going into the tank here because I'm like, Yawgmoth's Will is amazing. Something went strange with the screen there, so I have a feeling someone might have either warped around or the power cable or nearby. This is
going old timey, isn't it?
Yeah,
real vintage style.
Let's consider this our vintage filter, lens filter. So those of you at home, please enjoy it. And back to reality.
I think it could have been the light switched off.
That might have been it. Yeah,
automatic light switch off.
Yeah, we want to be green here. So this is me counting. I'm trying to figure out, and I remember making this decision like, I have a land here, but whatever I put back is going to shuffle away if I crack the land. And the cards I want to put back, I've got DT, I've got Yawgmoth's Will, like this is an insane set. And I want to DT into Lotus and, just storm out here. But it's really hard because I've got a fetch land and I need the fetch land to be able to get the black source. And if I get a black source, I can't get a white source. So here we go, first world problems.
No, you got to be running that scrub land, obviously.
Fetch your scrub land. Said no one ever in vintage. So I put 2 cards back. And now my hand is this, and I'm fetching them away. So I can't remember what I put back there, but I remember being really, really pained about having to put it back. So I get the white source here, and I feel like I put back Yawgmoth's Will or something. It was really, really rough.
But I think you got to play the threat out.
Yes,
right?
That's it. I've rationalised that I've got enough mana. I'm just going to play Mentor.
If you can untap with the Mentor and the Jace, then you're in a pretty decent spot. Right?
That's it. So, bye-bye Yawgmoth's Will, but, I'm pretty sure I kept the DT just in case I draw a black source. So here I get to play him. I still have 4 mana available off Tolarian Academy and Volcanic Island, and my hand still has the Hercule's Recall, I think. So here we go. We have 3 blue. We'll see whether or not I do the Hercules here or not. I think I had other Stormy cards to go off.
Hercules seems pretty good. You really ask the question of Sock,
Yeah. So here I'm just trying to find more stuff. Trying to decide, is it right to Hercules here or not? When do I want a Hercules is the question.
Do you ever want to Hercule him, or was that just to help his storm count?
I don't ever want to Hercule my opponent unless they're on shops, usually. Or they play like a Time Vault and can actually win. Then yes, you probably want to not lose the game. So here I got Preordain and Jace Vryn's Prodigy. So I put the Vryn's Prodigy back on top and I have Preordain drawn. So I get to keep kind of creating Mentor tokens. But I want to Hercules myself here. So this is Hercules Recall, target myself. So Storm Count is pretty insane here. And I get to replay these, but I have to decide how many things do I replay, because you still want to keep a couple of things in hand so that you can actually trigger your Mentor the following turn to give them prowess. But here, I'm pretty much in the driver's seat, so operations are going to go relatively quickly. And Strip Mine, Jace Vryn's Prodigy, pretty sure both to the bottom here. Let's see if I make the right decision or not.
Yeah, I saw them and I was thinking bottom, because really you just want to trigger the Mentor. Yeah. Both on top.
I can't even remember. Here we go.
Oh,
yeah,
Jace
Strip on bottom, Jace on top.
I guess Jace on top's fine if you can cast it right now. But you do have a mock, so you can cast it right now, and then
so
I guess it's equivalent because you can Hercules next turn. So
correct.
Jace
does let you cancel. Jace goes activate Jace and flashback Hercules Recall. Yeah. So That's the reason why I kept the Jace.
And it's definitely lethal, I'd say. So
easily, right?
So yeah, for
and
sure.
here I go. I want to keep. I remember going. I want to keep this Tormod's Crypt so that I can trigger Mentor next turn, but I don't want to lose because here I lose. Imagine losing and you have Tormod's Crypt in hand.
Yeah, to Yorks.
Yeah, and your opponent already has a duress and an A-call in the graveyard. So
I think it's fine to play it.
play
You've probably got lethal anyway, right? Especially if you trigger it for the 6th.
Yeah, I need 3 triggers to win next turn, but that's relatively easy when you activate Jace.
Yeah, activate Jace and
cast Hercule's Recall. Yeah. And this is why I like Hercule's Recall over the Paradoxical Outcome, because it's good against shops, and so it's nice to have that. Because I'm a Storm deck as well, so I want to be able to bounce my opponent's Thorns at the end of their turn, and you can't do that with Paradoxical. As much as Paradoxical is obviously the objectively stronger card in a vacuum.
Well, and look at this amazing board state you've got, and 4 preordains in the bin.
Yep. So I am up to 4 preordained now. I wish we could still keep our Gushers, but it was wrong. It was broken. It's a broken card, and it really limited the design space for the rest of the game. Because Thirst for Knowledge is just unplayable when Gush is around. Gush is just better. It really limited what we could choose to play. However, I do think that Gush was really, really good in that it enabled these mid-rangey strategies, creature-based mid-rangey strategies, which you can't really do with Thirst for Knowledge.
Thirst for Knowledge is a great card. I haven't actually played against it too much in Vintage. There's a few of these Paradoxical decks that are running it now because they run so many rocks, as I said. But I think it's a great card.
Yeah, definitely.
But no, I was just more alluding to the fact that you've got this amazing hand, this amazing board, and just respect to the fact that cantrips,
cantrips are good, right?
Cantrips are good. 4 preordains in the bin, and you get there, right?
Yeah, that's it. Here I'm going. Okay, so Storm counts 1. I'm going to track this for you because I have a feeling and he's on library as well, but. I've had 2 Jace activations, so it's kind of like I've had 2 library activations, but better.
Well, especially when you get to sync the riffraff.
Oh yeah,
Still, this is a scary spot to be in. You don't have any
I'm all in on
besides
Tormod's
yeah.
That's why I had to play it, right? Because obviously Sock doesn't know it. I've got 1 card in hand, so obviously he knows it's not Force of Will. It's not relevant to play, but it could be Mindbreak Trap.
Yeah, you've got to go for it though, right?
Everyone in this meta knows about me and Mindbreak Trap and Dak Faden. So I think Sock goes, well, if it's Mindbreak Trap, it's Mindbreak Trap. But he's got hand disruption, he's got duress, so he can get there still. I'm still tracking Storm for him because I know that this is a thing. This can happen. He knows he can't let me untap. Anyone can look at that and know Jace activate, Hercule's Recall, swing for lethal.
It's the perfect storm.
Writings on
the storm decks just get there, and you'd be so surprised that you think, oh well, he's only going to get 5, and he's got 1 card in hand, and then they Mind's Desire.
That's it. And look at his storm. Look at his mana. He's got so much mana. I think it is interesting that he's played the Soul Ring off the blue black source. Yeah. But that to me that says you have Monastery Mentor in hand, which I'm fine with, because if you have Mentor, you're not going to win. You're not going to win against a Mentor that's already had 6 triggers, right?
And is on the play.
So he passes the turn, so you kind of go, well, what have you got? You got nothing, right? So, that's right. I kept Yawgmoth's Will. So that was my single card in hand, and it was the what if you do something? Because imagine if Sock plays Balance. I lose everything. I keep Jace, but I lose everything.
These Storm whitelists do run a Balance.
Yeah, Balance is really good. And so here I'm going, okay, so what am I playing around? I'm playing around, because I don't know his list. All right. We know it now in retrospect. He doesn't have Force of Will, does he?
No, I don't think so, no.
But he has Flusterstorm in the sideboard?
No, he doesn't have Flusterstorm in the sideboard, no.
Alright, well...
He's got...
So I'm using
He's got
Yoda
not
at the
much,
bottom
to
track
be honest,
prowess.
From sideboard. I don't think there's really any interaction he can have. No, there's not much, mate.
Alright. Well, here we go. I've got Ponder, Force of Will, Land, Yawgmoth's Will. Two wills in that hand. And I'm basically going, well, I love Yawgmoth's Will, but I think I'll just, look. And I go, nah, I'm putting away my counters. Not actually, I do it the other way around. I'm like, how do I lose this game? Because Sock has a lot of tricky things he does. He does things like quicken. I can just imagine quicken and balance. Like, what crazy shenanigans does Socrates have for me?
Quicken balance.
He's always got something funny, something weird, And so I brainstorm with Jace and just refill that hand again. And
Mox Ruby, is it there?
Yeah, Ruby, and
seems good.
Here you just kind of put away the Ruby, and I'm putting away Force here. I'm like, well, you gotta.
You still got a Jace activation to draw.
Correct.
As well.
Correct. So like you just you float the Force on top. You wait for him to do something, and then you activate Jace if you need it. But I do remember here being in the driver's seat, and I'm like, if you had a force of will, you would have stopped me ages ago. If you had any kind of counterspell, you would have stopped me. So I don't need a counterspell to stop you, right?
Yeah, that's a good point. And looking at Sock's list, I don't think there's much interaction unless I've really missed something. I don't think he's got any interaction here.
Yeah. Well, my hand is Yawgmoth's will, so
maybe he just wants run out Soaring, hope he doesn't lose.
And storm out
next
next turn.
He gets to untap, have a library activation with a bit extra mana, and another land drop.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm just fetching Black Source and saying, well, I got this, right? Is there?
But I mean, at the same time, to be honest, if you don't have it, I feel like Sock's surely got it, right?
Yeah.
He's been on library for a while. He's got the mana.
He has to be able to storm me the next turn, right?
Surely. Yeah.
But he needs to do something about this. I even throw away Jason Mind Sculptor. I'm so far ahead because I'm going to win this turn. That's the whole plan. And I've got Yawgmoth's will, so it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, you can just Yawgmoth's will things back if you really want to. And here we go.
Here's the Yorgies.
Don't even activate Jace Prince Prodigy. I just leave him on 5 and I say Yawgmoth's will. Either you counter this so that then I can flash back with Jace Prince Prodigy. I can flash back Urkel's Recall and attack for lethal. Or you don't counter Yawgmoth's will and I just win here anyway. So it's kind of like...
Unless he counters the Hercules.
You could, but then I have Yawgmoth's will
as well.
So I'm saying, look, I've got lethal from triggers alone. I've got lethal from triggers alone. No matter what, there's enough here. So you have to do something. To one of the 3 possible ways. I've got 3 ways to win. I've got Mentor and lethal triggers on board already. I've got Yawgmoth's will on the stack. And if it resolves, then I've got flashback everything. And I've got Jace Prince Prodigy that's flipped. That hasn't been activated yet. So Socrates just concedes because... so he was going, I've got a Containment Priest to block one thing. That was his plan to kind of say...
Surprised he sided Priest in, though.
Yeah, there's times where you bring in Priest against blue decks, like, and I don't mean Oath, obviously, blue decks like against Tinker Blightsteel, and then you don't have to keep, because if your opponent is on a Storm plan, for example, you don't have to keep Swords to Plowshares in your deck. You just you replace all your swords with Containment Priests. Then you got a Flash Attacker, and it turns off Tinker for Blightsteel.
Yeah, and Sock's got this sort of like deck that can win off a half Storm if you have a Mentor, or if you have that black-white Kambal guy, and you get enough triggers with that.
You attack with a 2/2, attack with a 2/3, and so on. But at the end of the day, the writing was on the wall there. I just said, well, here we go. We've got 3 possible win cons. You got to do something. And the only out he had was blocking with 1 Containment Priest. I guess he was hoping that I forgot the right number of triggers.
Yeah, well, thanks for watching, guys. We're Adelaide Eternal. And stay tuned for another round. Round 3 next round.
3. Excellent. We'll see you then.